Another 100 square inch head size from Yonex? You got it. This is the Yonex VCORE 100D 2026. Meet the newest member of the VCORE family, the VCORE 100D. Defined by its 16 by 20 string pattern, it features wider grommet holes for increased string movement, an inner trench for better pocketing, as well as an updated beam width like the rest of the 2026 family for increased power and stability. For added comfort, Yonex has integrated servo filter material within the NAMD Flex Force graphite, as well as a vibration dampening mesh in the handle for smooth impact. The 100D will be my fourth racket I've gotten to playtest in the VCORE 2026 line, including the 98, the 100, and the 100 Plus. And I really liked in years past the 100. And when I was playtesting all of these, the 98 had kind of gotten to the top of my list as favorite in that VCORE line. So this 100D for me was a really nice surprise. It actually sat really nicely in between the 98 and the 100 in terms of playing. I felt I got from the 98 a little bit more plow through, a little bit more stability. It's a 305 gram unstrung weight, so it kind of got a little bit of nice oomph behind my ball, but then it also had the forgiving 100 square inch head size, which I love so much. So I really felt I was able to play my aggressive game throughout the play test. Another aspect of the racket I really liked was the 16 by 20 string pattern. Now with the 100, I was complaining a little bit that it was a little flighty, the ball was going a little bit high, the launch angle was a little higher. And with the 16 by 20, I really think it kind of dialed in a little bit of that and I got a little bit more control. And I didn't feel like the ball was flying as much. I could really go after it with a little bit more confidence. It is a VCORE, so there is still plenty of spin potential for me. I was utilizing that both on my short angled ground strokes as well as my serve, specifically my serve out wide and slice. If I had to pick a favorite shot, it would be my return to serve. For me, I was just able to really step in and be aggressive on it. It's my favorite shot to hit, and this racket really accentuated that. Overall, it has that Yonex feel that I love, and it's actually gonna go to the top of the VCORE list for me, so this will be number one on the VCORE's 100D, and then it'll go 98, 100 Plus, and then 100.
As much as I like the Gen 8 VCORE 95 and the 98 Plus, it turned out that the best fit for my game was this brand new VCORE 100D. A 305 gram frame weight, along with a firm but not stiff feel, 1620 pattern, and a strung swing weight somewhere in the 320s seems to offer my game the best performance these days, and that actually happens to sum up exactly what the specs of this racket are. The static and the swing weight was just high enough to give me easy power and heavy shot stability, while the balance point was just low enough to give me that long point playability. Now, most of the frames that I'm playing with that weigh 305 grams are paired with 98 head sizes, and I have to say, I really like how the 100 head size and 1620 pattern produce that increased stability, a bigger sweet spot, along with increased control and spin friendliness. Now, not one trait stood out over another with this racket for me, but the result was really good pace in my shots and excellent directional control. And last but not least, I'm gonna call out the glossy red paint scheme as one that I really like for this entire VCORE line. My guess is that the VCORE 100D is gonna be a very popular addition to the 305 gram frame category, and it will also stand out due to that 100 square inch head size and 1620 pattern.
The VCORE 100D was the racket I was most looking forward to trying out in this 8th generation VCORE line, and as it turns out, it is my favorite. I found when I tested the 100, it was a little bit harder to control, and I like getting a little too much power, a little too much depth for my flatter game. The 100 Plus, I enjoyed, but it is a very high swing weight for me to maintain swinging throughout a longer hitting session. And the 100D was the perfect fit for my game. I was getting a better launch angle with my flatter hitting style, so I didn't feel like I was having as many depth issues off the ground. My favorite shot to hit was actually my backhand, my two-handed backhand going cross court especially. I could really get it coming around the ball, and it being a VCORE, I was getting good spin, so I could get those swinging out wide, nicely pulling my opponent off the court. I also really like this on serve. I like the 305 gram weight on serve. It pulls through the hitting zone well. I was getting good spin and getting good pace. I also found this to be quite similar to my own racket, the Prince Texturing 100P. It has an 18 by 20 string pattern, but the string spacing itself is quite similar. I would say this VCORE offers a little bit more power and a little bit more spin than my racket. Overall, like I said, this VCORE 100D was my favorite of the VCORE 100 8th generation.
I was a huge fan of the Percept 100D from Yonex when that came out, so I was really excited to see them bring another semi-dense 305 gram 100 square inch option into the VCORE family. So really cool, unique set of specs here. There's not a ton of comparative rackets out there other than like the Strike 11620, the Clash 100 Pro, and maybe the ProKenix KI Q+5. Whereas those frames tend to be a little bit more emphasis on comfort or control. This one is definitely gonna fall into the power and spin category. And for me, that worked like an absolute dream, honestly, off either wing. I was a huge fan of how this racket played from the baseline. And likewise, the transition up to net was seamless for me as well. I felt like I could change direction on my volleys easily, wrong footing my opponents at the last second if I needed to. And similarly, anything at shoulder height or above, high volleys, overheads, really fun to just go up and hammer back down into the court. And likewise on serve, I loved this racket, just super obedient for me on that area of the playtest. One of my favorites, I would say, as far as performance went. Easy spin, good control, and if I needed to ratchet up the pace, I felt comfortable doing that as well. And this racket actually absorbed pace really well for me, and so returning was pretty easy, honestly. I really enjoyed going after smaller targets, trying to stay aggressive, keep the foot on the gas there. And I'm honestly very close to switching to this racket, so let me know in the comments if you think that I should, but yeah, this is pretty easily my favorite VCORE from the new generation. That wraps up this playtest of the Yonex VCORE 100D. For the two frames we strung today, we used Polytour Fire and Polytour Strike, both at 53 pounds for testing purposes. For more information on anything else tennis related, check us out at Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, and Tennis Only.